Hello, that is such a cool video.
I want to go to the
Can I
castle
go
now.
to
How about
D&D
you?
Castle? Where do I sign up?
Right? Well, I'll tell you where you sign up. Thor, you sign up at dndandacastle.com.
Very nice and easy. Yeah. Yep.
Very
Great.
nice and easy. So welcome to everyone who happens to be watching, and welcome Thor. I'm here with Thor Knai, DM to the stars, as we like to call him, and a bit of a star himself, as a matter of fact. So
Oh,
welcome.
so famous. You
You're
know. Yeah.
you're a very big deal, Thor. We think you're a very big deal.
Huge deal.
Huge, a
Yeah, I
huge
hope.
deal.
Yeah. I'm getting paid so much money for this
So
interview right now. It's great. It's great. My life's been great. Yeah. Yes. How are you, Tara?
I'm so great. I am so great. This summer has been a whirlwind. We just came back from our first ever D&D in a Castle USA. Literally just in
Right.
Guam.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
saw you did your Mark Mir interview, the deep dive there. That was nice. That was nice.
that
Yeah.
was really nice. I looked at it, and you know what I thought? This looks like a green screen. But I swear to
Oh,
God, we're sitting in front of an actual castle. That was like a literal castle behind us.
yep.
So it's actually real. The Indiana Castle is real. I don't know if you know that. If you've been there a few times, I think you can testify that it's a real thing.
I can testify that I have been paid to say it's a real thing. Yeah. No, it's definitely real. It's fantastic. I mean, the castle is a straight castle, and you cannot help but wonder in every single room, what is the history here? Like, what has happened here? What
How many ghosts
this?
are in
How
this
many
room right now?
ghosts? So many cool sort of historical little things that end up mattering a lot on a large scale have happened here.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're coming in the fall to
Yes.
run hardcore mode.
Yes.
So this is very exciting. And it takes a special kind of DM to run hardcore mode. So what made you want to run hardcore mode? And what is hardcore mode what do you understand hardcore mode to be, Thor?
I
You're running it.
I think what made me run it was sheer insanity, and the challenge. To be honest, I mean, I've played a lot of D&D, obviously, as have we all. But what I have not done is put what is essentially 3 months worth of playing in a couple of hours a week into 3 days. And as a DM, that's sort of to me like, oh, really? This is a thing that exists? I must do it then to prove to myself that I can do that. Plus, it sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, everyone always talks, but let's just take a weekend and like get an Airbnb or whatever. We'll just play all weekend. Realistically, you can't do that unless you're D&D in a castle and you have the support infrastructure to just sit down and do that.
You know,
You
it's interesting you say that because that is exactly the inspiration for D&D in a Castle in general.
know?
Was an Airbnb weekend that took 20 years to organize. So when people say, oh, let's just get friends and we'll get an Airbnb, 20 years from now, you might be able to coordinate that if you start now.
Right. Well, you guys went overboard with it and were like,
We went a
but
little
it's going
overboard.
to be a castle and it's going to be in England
That's
and it's
right.
going to be all of our friends at the same time.
That's right. But it was, a story that is very common among D&D players of,
Yes.
adulthood just entering your life and then 20 years going by and going, why do we never get to play D&D like I did when I was a teenager? Which is, my brother Cam, who's a co-founder of
Right.
D&D in the Castle. And that was how he played all through high school was, from after school Friday until school started again on Monday, they were just playing D&D. And that experience is really hard to gain when you're an adult with things you need to do. So
Sure.
the reason we created D&D in a Castle was, how do we get people to take the time? How do you get people to take the time off and dedicate it? And we're like, if it's in a castle, they will come. And
Yeah.
lo and behold, here we are. So
Lo and
that is
behold.
really the backstory. That is
How many
exactly how we ended up at
and
D&D in a Castle in hardcore mode.
and how many people have actually made it out to D&D Castle? Do you have the numbers?
Oh, I don't know. We have not calculated. We've
I
had
think
about
I think that's a cool
15
number.
rounds, I think. I think we've done
Yeah.
about 15 rounds, and they varied in size a lot, and there've been a lot of repeats. People come back, so whether we
Yeah.
count those people twice, but I would
Yeah, but if
say
it's like
close to
30 to
1,000.
50 people per that many. Yeah, that's even more than I thought. But yeah, that's great.
Close
It,
to. I don't know. But hundreds, at least hundreds. We'll say hundreds. That's
very cool.
probably fair. But
Definitely
hundreds of people
hundreds.
have been able to experience that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you've run our regular campaigns which most people are playing in at D&D in a Castle, which are
Yes.
3 days, 8 hours a day. And is that a format you've done as a player or as a DM before, like playing multiple days like that, just like the kind of Airbnb experience, whether it's as a high
Yeah,
schooler or
that one's closer to, what you did when you were a youth with the no responsibilities, and you were able to do that. Sort of, it ended up being something like that, where you play 3 days in a row over like during a vacation or whatever it is. So that's close to that format that I'm used to. But I mean, it's, even so, do you actually play for 8 hours a day, or is that like that's real? Now you're going for it. So I'm sure that's similar to what I've had before. The D&D, the hardcore mode is now you can't go home for dinner to your mom, and you can't take your dog out to, go pee. You gotta play. So,
that's right. That's
yeah,
right. Eat, sleep, roll dice. That was
eat,
our original.
sleep, roll dice,
That's it.
literally.
That's
Yeah.
it. Literally, that should be our new. That was used to be our catchphrase for the castle. We should make that the catchphrase
Well, just
for
add
hardcore mode
literally
now.
at the end, then that's the hardcore mode. Yep.
And sleep is kind of negotiable, to be honest.
Sleep is
You will
negotiable. You
eat.
got,
No
yeah,
one goes hungry, but sleeping, that's kind of like how much sleeping? I don't know.
yeah.
So tell us what you've got planned for this epic adventure in the fall. There were two
Uh,
seats left, by the way. Only two seats left in your hardcore mode campaign. So if people are watching, they're
awesome.
like, that sounds good. Act now because they might sell out.
Awesome. Oh well, this is as an incredibly famous Hollywood person, I've obviously been kicking around script ideas and stuff in my head. And part of that is right what or something that you've ties to, so it matters to you personally, right? In my case, it's then therefore inspired by Norse history and mythology, and that's kind of the game I've consistently been running at D&D Castle is written from my family history in sort of Norway, and it sort of takes place in a high fantasied up version of Norway, or Northern Europe at least. This one isn't that campaign, and this one is more darker, more generational, but it's definitely a similar sort of Nordic inspired theme. Just, I mean, if you sign up with a DM named Thor, you're like I
You kind of know
assume
what you're getting into.
you probably have expectations that I'll then live up to, and or you go in not having those expectations and then get them after, by being like, of course I should have expected this. So it has something to do with that. It's less of my own personal family history, but still the region and a story that I've been kicking around in my head for years now. I wrote a script for this, or the things for my script will also be part of this. The overarching story will be the same. And I wrote this probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm still sort of working on it, and it's simmering there. So it's something that players who come play this might one day see a version of this on screen.
Well,
Uh,
that's very cool. That's very
yeah.
cool. And so what kind of I mean, there was a write-up of your campaign that's on our website. But
Yes.
what so give us a little sort of quick summary of what the quest is about,
Okay.
and then like what kind of what kind of pillars you tend to gravitate towards, and what kind of style your games tend to have.
I would say, yeah, generational trauma. No, it's because it's hardcore and because it's cool we have so much time at once. I've designed it so that we will go through certain sort of time periods where there's a formation of the quest and the introduction to the problem and all that sort of stuff when the players are technically still very young. And there will be some horrific events that happen when what they would be sort of helpless and have to just witness this. And as the campaign goes, they will sort of time skip to, and now you maybe can do something about it. And that'll be the majority of the campaign. So it'll be, we'll bake in the why do you care
Right.
immediately and deeply, which is, it's never a problem with D&D Castle players, but in this case, for your character, what does your character care is going to be hit immediately, and there's going to be some pretty, I think, adult themes in the meaning that it's going to be dark. You're going to lose people you love. You're going to have to do some hard things. The actual themes of the campaign itself, or the quest itself, are a little more sort of relevant to history than perhaps Go Slay a Dragon.
Right,
So there's a little more. I mean, are there dragons? 100%. Are they gonna feature as prominently as they would do in other Dungeons and Dragons games? Maybe not. We have still to write this. This is a couple of months off, so the details will be filled in, and there may still be a dragon. But it's more sort of things you would recognize from our own world at the time a little bit in terms of themes and what's going on and what the problems of the locals are. It's not the
and I
ogre in
think
the
that
field.
there
It's
is I think there's even a local element. If I think there was a mention of Lindisfarne, which is very close to Lumley
Which
Castle.
is very close to Lumley
So you're kind
Castle.
of in the region. You can, it's very
Yeah,
immersive.
it
Yeah.
is. So we the actual yeah, I think did I tell you that we're gonna set it straight up in Europe at that time in the 8th 7th century?
I remember some stuff about, I remember there's a Lindisfarne was mentioned, and I don't want to give any spoilers, but that's, I just
No,
know that there was
that's
a mention of a location that's very close to the castle, which makes it kind of exciting because you get to kind of be there. You could almost see it from there.
that is true. You can definitely go visit, and you can almost see it from there. And if you know a lot of history, the only spoiler in there would be sort of at what point are we, and what themes are kind of happening in the world around Lindisfarne at the time. But yeah, I might call it something else, but you're right. It would still be the same, and that's fun. That this is something inspired by historical events that happened over there. you
Right.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
always fun.
And so in terms of like, what kind of player do you think would be attracted to your DMing style, or would really get into your game as a
Uh,
DM?
that's a really good question. Unlike your other even more famous DMs, who play with a lot more groups, I tend to play with the same people. I've done, a bunch of professional games, but not on the scale that they do. So I would say people who enjoy history, who enjoy sort of slightly darker fantasy. Obviously, if you have any interest in Norse mythology or Vikings, it'll be a shoe in, at least for this campaign. Normally, that's not the games I run. I run those specifically for D&D the Castle because of yeah, for reasons discussed already. But yeah, I like the tactics. For me, are important.
Hmm.
Like D&D role playing is fun and voices are cool. But that's kind of where some players shine and other players kind of don't like that aspect of it necessarily. I put enough in to keep everyone hooked, but then I make sure that the sort of the tactical, the combat aspect, the how to use your character effectively in dangerous situations, be it combat or otherwise, but from what can you actually do here and how can you do it well, and then help with your special skills or whatever it is. Uh, that I like a lot personally, like the grittiness of the combat and the danger of it all, which D&D doesn't sell that well for good reason. But I do. So there the combat becomes more dangerous, and players are perhaps used to. Therefore, what you do and how you act and how you work together as a team in those dangerous situations matters more. And to me, that's very interesting.
Cool. And
Yeah.
as this is a DM deep dive, I also want to know a little bit about your background, or I want you to share a little bit about how you got into D&D and what drew you to DMing.
Uh, Good question. I mean, DMing it's kind of the forever DM where I'm the guy in the group that was like, "Oh my God, guys, have you heard about this game?" They're like, and then you just have to run it, and then once you start at like age 11, that's it.
That's
You're it. But I always loved it. I always loved being there's part of being a DM that means you're just the center of attention the entire evening, right? You play every other character, you tell everyone what's happening, you tell everyone what happens when something they do happens. So, you're just in charge of everyone having a good time. And that has always been very attractive to me and fun for me. So yeah, as I said, I started playing at 11. It was because of a counterculture older brother of a friend of mine who tried to unsell us on this game. We had seen a book or something. We're like, oh my god, play this game for us. And he's like, no, 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 can't do it. It's too complicated. You need like 50 pages worth of prep work. You got to make characters, hoping that'd be like, oh, okay, well, let's go just play
We'll
in the
leave you
sand.
alone.
And in reality, it was like, what? We must now have this game. So we ended up playing, of course, and this was back in the red book era. The like basic sets that basic set that they have now is based on. So that was cool. And then DMing just or Dungeons and Dragons just became a thing that I did, and I came back to it later in life after having moved to the States and finding friends here that did the same thing when fifth edition came out. It was who knows how to play, and this was amongst my sort of, again, to just lean into how
How
wildly
famous.
famous I am. Yeah. I know everyone in Hollywood. So wave, hand wave. No, I'm kidding. But the few people I do know wanted to play, and I was like, I can hook that up. Let's go. So we ended up having a Tuesday game that we've now been playing since 2015. And because even though I might not be famous enough to know everyone, they certainly are. So now everyone they know that are interested have, paraded through the halls and guested or played one campaign or part of that campaign with us. So that's been a lot of fun. And that's what led to D&D Castle, because now that I'm cool by association, at least, that's a fun, it's a fun, I think, gimmick for me and a little bit for you guys, where this is someone who plays with those people. That, by the way, I love this part. This is my favorite part about playing with these famous people. We'll just mention some in case people didn't know, I guess. I'm sure you're gonna ask anyway. But we have Joe Manganiello. Everyone knows he plays. Kyle Newman, who wrote a lot of the D&D books, Vince Vaughn, Craig Mazin, who's currently right now, he hasn't been playing with us for a while because he's in Canada shooting Last of Us Season 2. DB Weiss and then those guys from the Game of Thrones, Taron Killam from SNL, and of course Will Wheaton and people like that have at least been in or out at one point or other. And what was so fascinating to me was like these are people who have won at life. They're
Right.
they're famous, they're rich. Most of them have beautiful families, and often small kids, and whatever, and they can do whatever and travel whatever, and like Tom Morello had to go do a thing where he was inducted in the Hall of Fame. It's like, I can't play this week because I'm gonna do like a Hall of Fame thing. And it's so you can do anything you want, and what they want is to play more D&D at that,
Seriously.
and I'm just like, wow, that was powerful to me, because it means it's D&D special to me and to I'm sure a lot of the people watching, but just how special it is, it was made clear to me when, because I've never been in their situation where I can do anything anywhere at any time.
Yeah.
And even when you can do that, you still, a lot of them love D&D, and that's what you want to do, and they get really into it, and the details and the min maxing and the in between session like chats, like, what are we
Yeah.
gonna do, like, what's happening, oh, my character kind of wants, so it's the fact that it was that important to those people made me realize just how special on a different level D&D is, and then and also realize I'll probably never stop playing. I
Right.
wasn't gonna, but you think maybe I'm gonna get distracted by things.
Yeah,
No,
you never grow out of it.
you
Once
never
you
go
start
out of it.
playing D&D, you never stop playing. It's not like, I've
Yeah.
had enough of that. Like, it's
Yep.
it's like I've had enough of eating delicious food. You never stop.
Yeah.
Like, you're
Yeah. You
not
may
gonna
take a
give me.
break. May take a
Yeah,
break, but you're not gonna
yeah.
stop, and you're gonna
But we
miss
get
it.
that
Like,
actually,
yeah.
a lot of people that come to the castle say that kind of thing. Like, what am I gonna do? I was literally talking to a guy in the spring, and he was like, "What am I gonna do? I'm not like super rich, but like I can do stuff, and I'm gonna buy another car. I don't want another car. I already have a car, or like, what do I really want to do on my holiday? I don't want to sit on a beach.
Yeah.
I don't want to go on like a bicycle tour of the Andes. Like, I just want to play D&D ultimately. Now my kids are a little older, and I can do something. The end.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I would do the bicycle tour of the Andes,
You
but
would.
I also would, yeah, yeah.
You're probably a little more outdoorsy than a lot of our hardcore D&D years,
That's
but
true.
fun.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, Thor, tell us about some of your projects that I know, well, what you can talk about. You uh, just
I've
last year, you launched the Trials of Tempest D&D board game that you were
yes.
involved in designing. I know about that one. I know you were in Rebel Moon, which is a huge deal. And I don't know what else you can share about what you're working on at the moment. But
Yeah,
where can
I
people
mean,
find you?
a couple of those things are relevant almost today. Because, well, one, it's been a year since we launched Trials of Tempest, D&D Trials of Tempest. It's a fun board game where you team up with, you have basically your own D&D parties and you go at the same objective. And PvP, or player versus player, is encouraged and allowed. So it's kind of a D&D contest board game format. So I highly recommend that, and it's been a lot of fun to make and do. And last year, this time I was at Gen Con, and I'm kind of sad I'm not at Gen Con right now to
A
do
lot of
more
our people
stuff
are at
with it.
Gen Con right now
Yes,
playing with.
of course they are. God, I wish that's a fun one. Gen Con's good. Secondly, the Rebel Moon that you mentioned is Zack Snyder's latest foray into a sci-fi fantasy universe. It's a new IP he created. Came out first episode for Christmas, second episode in April, but those were for children and for Netflix because they wanted a wide audience, version of this new fun universe. Kind of they want to try to do the Star Wars thing where it can be for kids and adults at the same time. Zack Snyder, however, the concept and the original idea and the vision he had for this was as a very adult answer to all those things, all the popular sci-fi. So he made this is really dark and gritty universe, and very bloody and very adult in all those ways. That wasn't shown in the original Rebel Moon launches on Netflix because that wasn't them. That movie, which is now which is both of them are going to launch at the same time. It is the Zack Snyder's director's edition or cut or whatever.
Like
Although
direct.
it was planned all along. It's not like, oh my god, we're going to make it better. This was his baby. This was his version. Netflix got their versions, and he
Right.
always had this cooking and shot this at the same time with all the adult themes that need to come with it. And that movie and his director cut drops today on Netflix. So you can, if
Oh,
you
very
haven't watched
cool.
Rebel Moon, or if you did watch Rebel Moon, enjoyed it, or if you're on the fence, now is the time to watch the original vision that Zack Snyder had for that movie. And I certainly will be spending the rest of the day watching these two because I haven't seen them either.
Cool.
So
But
yeah,
you're in that one, right?
I am in that one.
Very
I
cool.
have a couple of cool scenes. I might have more scenes in the director cut. I don't know what gets cut and what's included. But if you've seen Rebel Moon, you've seen my big moment, so to speak, in part two. But yeah, that was such a thrill, the whole thing. And now is the final release of the final thing. so
Very
so
cool. Well,
today is
everybody go
the
watch Thor in Rebel Moon
yeah.
and come and play with Thor at D&D the Castle in hardcore mode if you're up for it. I will say that other hardcore mode people have said, or DMs have said, it's a lot of playing, but it's not exclusive. It's not a gatekeepery kind of thing, hardcore mode. It just means you want more D&D. You don't care if you get to play archery. You don't care if you get to do one shots. You're here to play your campaign, and you don't need to do anything else. You just want more D&D. So it's really the hardcore passion for D&D and excitement about gaming.
Sure,
Um,
yeah. No, if you want to really squeeze the value out of playing D&D in a castle and the emphasis on those specific words, hardcore mode is the way to go. And like no one has done that. Everyone says they've done something like that. No one has done that until you've done hardcore mode. Uh, and that's kind of a tiny little nerdy badge of honor that we share. Yeah,
A little nerdy, a little nerdy. I
yeah.
just want to acknowledge we had a couple of comments that came in while we've been on the phone.
Uh,
One is from Timothy. He says, my son and I are super excited to join you all in the October-November Lonely Castle event. Thank you for all you do. You're so
yeah,
welcome. Thank you guys, everybody who's come to D&D in the Castle that have made it real. And so,
that's
and then the
awesome.
other one is, oh yeah, someone's asking about Braun Castle in Romania, which is the
I bet you know exactly which one that
I
is.
know I know all the castles. It's very rare someone tells me about a castle that I don't know. But if you have a castle send it to us. contact@dndandcastle.com. We always love to hear about castles. That's why we always say my brother Cam and I started this business. He's the D&D, I'm the castle. So I want to hear about all your castles. You got a castle, send it to me.
Yeah.
contact@dndandcastle.com. And someone says, oh, and by the way, I started playing D&D in the 80s. That was us too. I was an 80s D&D, got the red box at a garage sale person.
Nice.
And also Cam was an 11-year-old with a friend with an older brother. Like, why is it always there's an older brother? And then that's how everyone, I
Because
know.
what they do is cool, so you watch
Yep.
them,
It's the
and
League of
then
Older
yeah,
Brothers, man.
yeah,
Just pulling everyone into D&D. And then someone says
exactly.
we're going to see some TTRPG Rebel Moon crossover. I don't know.
You know what? There was a whole thing with he was creating a giant MMO or a TTRPG, or I don't know what happened to that, but there were plans for all of the things.
We shall see.
Uh,
We shall
yes,
see.
yeah.
And then I think I shared a little bit your inspiration for D&D in a castle. I mean, it's basically just the joy of getting to play and not have to think about anything else. We would say at D&D in a castle, nobody goes home because the babysitter canceled. There are no
Mhm.
scheduling conflicts at D&D in a castle. When you go on holiday at D&D in a castle, um, you don't have to wonder where you're going to go for dinner or where you're going to park or what you're going to do on your vacation. All of the entertainment is baked in. So it's that was the dream. It's just like to hang out in a castle and just actually get to play. You know, people often say to us, "Oh, we can do that. We can do it."
No, you can't.
Like by all means,
Yeah,
play all the D&D in all the ways. It's free. You can do it in your basement if you want, or wherever. You can play D&D wherever. But this is where you get an incredible DM like Thor or any of our other DMs that come. All the D&D is done for you. All the stuff is there. All the other players are there the whole time and just as committed as you are to the game. And it's
absolutely. I mean,
magical.
quite literally, again, on the incredibly famous vein, it not I'm kidding, but it's really the highest end D&D you can play in the world right now that I'm aware of. It's like
Well, we're pretty proud of the
it's
people that
the
we
thing.
that
Yeah.
run these games. We love them, and we court the ones that we think are just really great at and passionate about the game and care about the game and have a great vibe. We talk about our aura check. It's all about people who are just great to hang out with and that we just like to be around. And we think other people would like to be around and hang out with and play D&D for 4 days. You know, so that's what you get. You get great people, but. I do want to ask you one little question before we wrap up, and I ask you to invite
Sure.
everybody to come play with you, which is, what are the players like at D&D in a castle?
Very
Your players.
enthusiastic, I would say. You know, there's been the occasional married couple where it might be more or less obvious that one of them is slightly more enthusiastic than the other, but they're still there and they still really mean it and they lean into it immediately. And you know, it's everyone's in some way a kid again, right? Because you're just allowed to not worry about the kids and where you're going to park and whatever, like you just said. You're allowed to just sink into that fantasy, and that of course makes the game just better. And you're not checking your phone because stuff is going on. Like, should I have done this tonight? No, you're here and you're locked in, and it's 100% immersion. And people are in cosplay, and you know, you're in a castle, and you know, it's the immersion is automatic and amazing, and people buy it immediately, and people are very enthusiastic because they're all there so very much on purpose. Like, you've flown from all over the world to get there. Some people have.
Right.
Oh, nice comment. Nice. Keep highlighting those comments. Love it. Uh, so it's a great, again, like, not only is it the premier D&D experience because you know, no one else has done what you're doing here at this level, but you know, you have all of the juice that goes with it to create a good D&D experience anywhere. Like, if you were doing that with this kind of players and this kind of time setup anywhere else, it would be amazing. You do it here, it's amazing. Plus,
Plus, it's in a castle.
yeah, plus, just plus, you know,
Plus, plus,
amazing
plus.
plus. This is the new game plus, amazing plus.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us, Thor. And if you want to find out about Thor and about his game and about D&D in a Castle, you go to dndinacastle.com. You can click on Dungeon Masters and read about Thor. You can click on events and read about all the different events.
Yay!
And we've got little write-ups there about everything. And you can always ask us questions. There's a chat there. And it's real life people behind the chat. We will actually talk to you like real humans.
Yay!
And yay, humans!
Yeah, human.
And feel free to send us any questions that you've got. Thor, I'm gonna ask you to take us out by inviting the viewers to take the last two spots at your Hardcore Mode game in October.
Ah, yes. Well, if you like Viking history or mythology or darker themes of religious conflict and maybe the undead and maybe some generational trauma. This is such a horrible sales pitch, but I know it's working on some of you. I know you love hearing this stuff. So that kind of like gritty D&D. You're not going to get this kind of game anywhere else or home. You don't want to play this game at home. You want to go have this experience and then be like, whoa, okay, great, never need to do that again. That kind of awesome, deep, horrible thing. So please come play at my table. It'll be a lot of fun. And yeah, I cannot wait to be back at Dating the Castle in late
October,
October. Yeah.
October. And we will see you there. Thanks so much, and take care, everybody. We'll see you at the castle.